Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. And welcome back to the OWLS Esports OWLS Racing League. And we are back for round number 4 of the season. Last time out, we took a trip over to Imola. This week, we are heading to the Principality. We are heading to Monte Carlo for this evening's action. And it should be a very chaotic and entertaining race ahead. So, as we look into this, of course, the big question on everybody's lips is potentially around this iconic street circuit where qualifying is oh so important. Are we finally going to see the defeat for Pesant? Are we going to see somebody finally step up to the plate, able to take him down and mean we have our second winner of the season? Or is it going to be 4 in a row for the championship leader and the Alpine driver? So, as we are just preparing to go into the race, qualifying, should I say. Of course, it's 18 minutes of qualifying followed by a 39 lap race here this evening. The most amount of laps of any circuit we'll have on the calendar. It is going to be very interesting. Expect plenty of safety cars and plenty of front wings potentially flying off after some contact with the barrier. But let's have a look at the drivers' standings quickly, where we see, of course, Pesant, after those 3 race victories, on 75 points. 32 points clear of closest driver, being Cook in the V-car. But he's 32 points behind. Then we have got Antiochus in 3rd place, only a point behind Cook. So that battle for 2nd at the moment is raging on quite nicely. Then we've got Ben in 4th. He's 17 points back from the Mercedes man. Then we've got the second of the 2 Mercedes with Liam on 21 points, only 4 points behind Ben, and could have been ahead of Ben if it wasn't for that unfortunate mistake he made in the race last week. And that was coming in for a 2-stop when everybody else stayed out for the 1. Then we've got Shefton, Joker, Will, Leo, Andy, Swaggy, Jammers, Alex, Jack, and Harvey round out your top 15 in the standings. Of course, this race, it can go one of 2 ways. Of course, it's a mandatory 2-stop as well, so strategy is going to play a big part of this one. It's not a 1 or a 2. It has to be a 2-stop due to the rules that were implemented into the real life F1 season. And it's going to make things a little bit more interesting, especially if drivers go for something rogue, maybe a soft medium or a soft hard medium or something along those lines to try and use as much of the quicker compounds as possible. It will be quite an interesting thing to look at as this race will progress. But we are just about to head track side now, where we're at a spectacular midnight Monaco here. We are here under the lights in Monaco, which is a lovely feature on the F1 game. So let's now head track side. And heading into this race, of course, all eyes look to Pesant, of course, in-game, known as MPA Free Gamer. We call him Pesant. And with pole so important around this circuit, it could mean that snatching this pole position see you win the race, because it is so tricky to overtake, even on the game. It's around another car because they're so wide and you can just park your car in the perfect places compared to everybody else. Haggy is going to be the first driver out onto the road in the Williams. So let's see what Haggy has to offer. Is now heading through the Lowe's hairpin on the outlap with the slowest corner on the Formula 1 calendar. Out of the tunnel, into the tunnel we'll go, and out the other side. If this was a day race, you'll be blinded by the sun. Oh, he's crashed on his outlap! before we even get action underway, Haggy on his outlap has unfortunately hit the wall in the Nouvelle Chicane, and that sees session over before it even started. We're now looking at Jimbo. Hopefully he won't repeat the same mistake as the Williams car. No, elects to go straight put across the chicane, not electing to even attempt it on the outlap and potentially bin it himself. But that is a disaster. Not even getting a lap time underway there, Haggy. Not even being on a proper push lap to force that error. Has gone into the wall. And that has seen him, unfortunately, in that one, out of qualifying. Before he even had a chance. But let's go on board with Jimbo as he now heads down into Saint-Avold. Down to third gear, not using all the track that is possible. Of course, these first laps are just to build the confidence. Got a car in front of him, that's Haggy's teammate there of Massive, actually, who gets out the way quite nicely. Just about, I think, was able to keep it out of the wall as we now head down into Mirabeau. 19-0 first sector there from Jimbo. Again, just not pushing the limits too much. Nozel getting a lap time on the board is the important factor at the moment. Got a little bit more traffic in front. Is that Rory? No, it's not. It's going to be of Nulu as the Haas lets the Red Bull through. He's actually got an Aston Martin just behind him. I think that is of the A team. Now through the Nouvelle Chicane, takes a bit too much curve and actually invalidates the lap. Behind him, the A team is pushing on and now heading through to back. 53-1 through the middle sector, gets a little bit scrappy through the swimming pool chicane. Nicely over the curves. It's late on the brakes into Raskas. Back on the power so slightly before we head into Anthony Nose. And then it's DRS open for the A team. Up the line. This is the benchmark for everybody to beat. It's a 1 minute 12.026. That is what everybody is going to be looking at. Here comes Muse to the line. Seems to have aborted to then go again. Is Liam Bearder on a lap time? Yes, he is. We'll stay on board with the Kick Sauber. A lot of drivers a little bit out of sync with one another. So we are just going to have to keep our wits about us. Of Thames and Harvey go second and third, only just behind the A team on a 12.5 and a 12.7. Here we have Liam now heading through the final part of the lap. Joker now goes quickest of all. Of course, Joker last week did a spectacular comeback drive after an early mistake. He was able to see himself into the top 5. Here comes Liam, and he now goes quickest of all. 1 minute 11.7. From the Kick Sauber. Liam yet to come out. What about your championship leader of Pusamp? We're just going to switch over to him. He's now gone quickest with a 10.6. Swaggy now heading through the final corner. What's he going to be able to do? Only 7th fastest. A 1 minute 13.2. New Panda, I think, invalidated that previous tour. Is now going to be pushing on again. An 18.7 first sector from the Mercedes man. Now heading through the Lowe's hairpin. Really tricky to get the car rotated through there. I think that was Jimbo going up to 6th. Massive up to 9th. I think Scrappy is potentially... Oh, no, that was his teammate, actually, of Jack Reynolds making his way up the order. So we'll go back to Newt Panda, making his way through the Nouvelle Chicane. That was a very tidy chicane indeed. Took a lovely amount of curb. 52-1 through the middle sector. This could be rivaling Puzant here for provisional pole at this stage of the session. Now through the final corner. What's it going to be for Newt Panda as we head up to the line? And it is second fastest, only just shy of Puzant's lap. Spectacular in the opening part of this session. But we have 2 cars so far clear of the rest. The second clear of closest car, Liam Beader. But of course, we're still waiting for the likes of Liam, Ben, and also Agent to set their lap times. And also, at second place at the standings, Cook, who is just about to head into Tabak. That was the A team, I think, going up into 4th place. Nice lap time there from the Aston Martin. A purple middle sector, apparently, for Cook. Of course, 32 points back on Puzant in the championship. We'll need to have a little bit of a fight back as we head through the rest of this season. I think there actually is in front of him of Must, as he's going to get a lovely slipstream down the main straight. Across the line we go, and it is provisional pole now for Cook. 1 minute 10.4. and goes 2 tenths clear of Puzant, as we're now going to be turning our attention to Ben, who's now making his way through the final corner. Is this going to rival the V-Carb, or is he just going to fall a little bit shy? Joker up into 4th across the line for Ben, and he does fall short onto the second row of the grid. They'll be quite happy with that one, as we see Liam, last week's pole man, who dominated a majority of last week's race until he came in for that second pit stop, which was his undoing. Now be looking to try and make amends and win, of course, one part of the Triple Crown here in Monaco, as he now makes his way into the tunnel. See what the Nouvelle Chicane has in store for the Mercedes. Oh, a little bit of a slide out of the Nouvelle Chicane. That's not going to do him any good. Through the middle sector split, about a tenth down from what we saw Cook do in that middle part of the lap. A little bit wide through the second part of the swimming pool as well. And into the Rascas. Need to make sure he gets the car stopped again. A little wide, a little snap. It's going to become really scrappy in this final part, in these final sectors. Liam now to the line. He's just going to fall short. And it's third fast. It's only a few hundredths off the front row of the grid. What about Rory in the house? What's he doing? He's invalidated his attempt. Who's not pushing on the 14.6 currently, 4 seconds off. The pole time not where he would want to be. Is Scrappy pushing on? No, doesn't. So what about Harvey? Now making his way into Massenet. I think that's definitely going to be an aborted lap time there from the McLaren. So I think we're in a little bit of a lull period at the moment for drivers making their way around the circuit on laps, unless Nui is on a lap time. So Dare now coming up into the Nouvelle Chicane. A Mercedes, that's I think of Liam, gets out the way quite nicely. And now into back we shall go. Later on the brakes, down to 4th gear. 52.7, not too shabby through there. Got a little bit of time to find in that middle part of the lap if he wants to try rival for pole position. Still, this could be a very good lap time that could potentially put himself up into that top 6 in the standings. So it'll be DRS Open. Will this be enough for the third row of the grid? Yes, it will. It will be enough. No, sorry, it won't be enough. It is 4th row of the grid there for Dare, and slots in just behind Joker for that 7th place. So we see, of course, Jack Reynolds potentially pushing on. Yes, this is certainly going to be pushing on through the first sector. The Ferrari driver currently on 12.1, up by 2 tenths already in that first part of the lap. Now makes his way through the Lowe's hairpin and into Lower Mirabeau and Portier. Be looking to try break into those 1 minute 11 to potentially rival the likes of Rory and Dare for around about that 7th and 8th spot. That makes his way into the Nouvelle Chicane. You've got to keep it valid through here. This is the real invalidation hotspot here, and the swimming pool chicane are really where you test the limits of the track limits. He makes his way through to back, nearly a whole second up on this lap time. This could even rival the third row of the grid, or even on to the second if he's able to hook up this final sector. Late on the brakes, lovely stuff through there from Reynolds as he now makes his way through the final corner. DRS Open for the Ferrari. This could be a monumental improvement, and it is. It's 1 second faster, 6th fastest, and nearly was able to put himself on to 5th place, and a top 5 start would have been absolutely amazing. But I think Ben is pushing on a lap. No, has unfortunately invalidated. Same with Puzan, who can't go any faster. Of course, Liam is now in 2nd, as he's actually been able to find a little bit of time on a lap. The A team might be pushing on. Yes, he is in the Aston Martin. Of course, Track Evolution is going to be absolutely insane around here, being a street circuit track. Very green to begin with, but as more rubber gets laid down, the times get faster and faster. And you can see here from the A team already finding 2 tenths in that middle part of the lap. Through the final sector we'll go with the Aston Martin. Make sure he keeps it tidy. 2/10 of an improvement. We'll just put him up into that 11th place. If he can find any more, certainly could see himself into the top 10. Across the line goes the 18, and it is more of an improvement. 7/10 in the end. Falls just shy of Jack Reynolds. As Newt Panda, is he on a lap time? Yes, he is. Panda now making his way through to back. He's lost time in that middle part of the lap. Unfortunate there for Panda. He's got a little bit deep and invalidated there. Ben, of course, we saw did invalidate. Is Jimbo pushing on? Yes, Jimbo is pushing on as he now makes his way through the middle sector. The only driver out so far in this session is, of course, Haggy, who we saw crash on his outlap. 52.7 there from Jimbo. So this is rivaling around about Dare's lap time at the moment in the Haas, but a little bit deep into Raskas. He's coming to pit lane and not have any more from that. Puzzat now goes to the top of the times. A 1 minute 10.3, your championship leader. Pipsy's rival to the top spot with 5 minutes and 35 seconds left on the clock. But it's still plenty to play for. And of course, Cook will come out again and there'll be so much more time in that lap. The question is, will he keep it valid to get it over the line? Liam Bearder is on a lap time as well. Wait on the brakes here from Liam. Now in, of course, the back. And he is actually aborted this lap time. 4 seconds down on his previous best and will not be going further. Newt Panda's actually put himself up into second place as well, so that's a spectacular lap time there from the Mercedes. The track is certainly getting faster. We're seeing that with every driver that goes by. They're finding more and more time as they head around this circuit. It's also a confidence factor as well, because more laps you put in that are clean, more chance you've got of having that confidence. You start to feel good in the car. You know there's more time in it. You push that little bit harder. You put the throttle down a little bit earlier. You brake that little bit later. And you start to, everything starts to come together for you. And for Dare now making his way through the Nouvelle chicane. And up through to back into the middle sector split. We're seeing a 2/10 improvement here from the Haas driver. Taps all ever so slightly. He's just able to keep that valid over the second part of Swimming Pool's curb. Now into Anthony Nose. DRS now open. Are we going to see a big enough improvement to at least jump a position up here with Dare? No, we are not. Lost a little bit of time in that final sector, but he'll be very happy with that one as Liam is out again on the lap, up by 600ths in that middle sector. First sector, and is now pushing on in the middle part of the lap as Rory in front of him is also pushing on forwards. But we'll see what Liam can do. Fighting for that pole position at the moment. Has he found anything in the middle parts of the lap? Yes, he has. Nearly 3/10 of a second. This could certainly rival Puzzant for that pole position. A little bit slow through Swimming Pool. And now up into the final corner. He's going to have a lovely toe from the Haas driver in front. A little bit slidey out of the final corner, though, across the line. And it is provisional pole. Found half a second in the end. And it's a 1 minute 10.1. Could we see somebody dip into the 0.9s by the time we finish this one off? Surely Liam's fueled himself up to go against. He won't have enough time to come back into pit lane and out again. So we're not going to see the last of Liam. He's not filled up enough as Ben goes deeper to turn one, slaps the left-hand side of the car. Let's see if he's picked up any damage. I don't think he has, but lost enough time to warrant him backing out of the lap. Rory didn't find an improvement either. I don't think it's finding improvement on this lap. A little bit scrappy through there. Yeah, now through the back. Yeah, 3.8 seconds down is certainly not pushing on for a lap. Jimbo is, as we see a magnificent shot. And now into, of course, Raskas. And the final corner of Anthony Nose. Jimbo, what's this going to bring? 11.6 currently. goes 10th fastest on an 11.3. A nice improvement there actually from Jimbo. Prime 3/10 of a second. I think Ben shaping up to go again, or is Puzant just a little bit further around? Puzant is just that little bit further around. So let's go on board of the Alpine to see what the man fighting for pole could potentially do. So through Massenet, now down the hill into Mirabeau. Played on the brakes. Up by a 10th in that first sector. At the moment, it's not enough to beat Liam. Still has plenty of time to fire, and as he now heads into Portier, down to second gear. Bring that car back up to the left-hand side, and it's now use all the battery you possibly can as you make your way down into the Nouvelle Chicane. It's late on the brakes, down to 100 meters. And then, just a little bit too shy on the rotation through the second part of Nouvelle and has backed off of it. Certainly was not finding the lap time and has backed off the lap. Panda's backed off. Is Ben pushing on? No, he is not. So all eyes now turn to the man who's second in the standings. That is going to be, of course, Cook, unless Liam is pushing on further ahead. He did push on, but was not able to find any improvement. Has retired from the session. He's actually gone straight on at Mirabeau. So obviously made a mistake on the lap and doesn't have time to go again. Excited to retire on the circuit, but here comes Cook. This is a very, very crucial lap time if he wants any chance of fighting back against Puzant in this championship fight. So as he now makes his way through the Nouvelle Chicane, lovely through there, maybe a little bit wide from the first apex, but was able to hook up the rest of the circuit nicely. Now through the middle sector split, he's up by 0.2 of a second. This at the moment is rivaling that front row of the grid as Panda actually goes up to second place. Through Raskas and into Anthony Nose. Was there any more time in this for Cook? Or is he just not going to be able to pip Liam to this one? Are we going to see a 1:09? Or are we going to stay in the 10s? We are going to stay in the 10s by 0.006 of a second. Cook was not able to find the time he needs. Liam, not improvement. Puzant, certainly not improving either, retired on the circuit. So all eyes now turn to Ben, who's pushing on, currently on a 10.9. We'll need to find near on a second if he wants to snatch pole position away. But it is possible around a circuit like Monaco, through the Nouvelle Chicane. Lovely through there. How good are we looking? Through the middle part of the lap here, Ben into the back, slaps the wall. He's down as well. On his previous lap time, and for Ben, yeah, he's certainly not going to find the time now, and he is going to be out of the session. And now for Swaggy, taps the wall into the Raskas. Fortunately for him, not able to find an improvement again. So 2 weeks in a row, Liam takes pole position by the finest of margins. It was 1,000th last week over Puzant. It is 6,000ths this week over Cook, and for Cook, his championship chances are certainly looking a little bit better after qualifying this evening. He starts on the front row of the grid with Puzant an extra 2 places behind him, 4th on the second row around a circuit which is notorious for not being able to overtake. So your qualifying order for this evening's Monaco Grand Prix. It was Liam on pole, from Cook in second, then Newt Panda third, Puzant in fourth, Ben fifth, 6th is Jack, 7th Liam, 8th is Joker, 9th is Harvey, and 10th for the 18. Jimbo, Dare, Swaggy, Rory, Agent, Scrappy, Tams, Massive, Mute, Aggie, who was not able to set a lap time thanks to that unfortunate incident on his outlap on his first attempt to qualify. So now we head over to the race. Of course, 2-stop is mandatory. So you have to come into the pit lane twice. If you don't, you are disqualified from the race. That certainly does throw this race up in the air. How will the person leading manage this one? Will they go full push in the opening stint? They try to keep the train as close together as possible. It's really going about driver confidence, driver management, and mentality. But it's Liam and Cook on the front row of the grid here in Monaco. Who's going to take this one? Will we see a fight back on the championship, or will it be 4 in a row? And we're underway here in the streets of the Principality, and it's actually raining. It's raining in this Grand Prix, and it's Liam who takes the lead from New Panda in second, and Cook has dropped down to third, but Pussant nearly down into 5th place. There's a yellow flag in the background for Scrappy, but as we now make our way up into Massenet, both the championship leaders have dropped places. They've both dropped 1 place to the car behind them. Pussant to Ben, Cook to Panda, and we see now heading into Mirabeau what happened to Scrappy. He's a little bit further back, and he's going to potentially have some damage to the car, as Reynolds, his teammate, is actually going to go for a move here onto Swaggy into the Lowe's hairpin. It congests up so much through here. You basically come to a stop if you're at the back of the pack, and we just saw, I think that was Massive, going into the back there of Must, who unfortunately I think might have just picked up some damage in that Williams car, has picked up some damage. But adding the rain to the mix is certainly going to add a little bit more drama and a little bit more chaos. These drivers going into the wall maybe. It's going to be even more of a challenge. Monaco in the dry is a challenge alone. Monaco in the wet is a completely different breed, as we see our first 3-second time penalty on the way of Thames. But Liam, just like we saw in Imola, got a dream getaway from Bowl. And he is now nearly 2 seconds clear of teammate Panda, who's got Cook all over the back of him. Makes it even harder to now overtake for these drivers. We're going to certainly be in a 39-lap shootout on who can keep their composure, and who can keep their car out of the wall. Not sure if the 2-stop still applies. I think it does, because it's a mandatory rule throughout. But we'll have to wait and see. Oh, late on the brakes. There's a yellow flag in the middle sector. I don't know who that is potentially for. Potentially Agent. Dropped back a fair few places. Now down to 19th. Everybody is going to be on those intermediate compounded tyres. Who's had the biggest gains and biggest losses, though? The biggest gainer is Haggy, who's got that front wing damage, but still has been able to make up 4 places. Biggest losers are both Agent and Scrappy, down 4. And also Jack Reynolds, who's down 6 places from the start. Everybody on that green-walled intermediate compound of tyre. Liam is now starting to extend his gap over Panda. The only issue here for Liam is the fact he's in the lead. He can't lose that concentration. He cannot have that small lapse in judgment where he's got no pressure on him and he sees himself into the wall. That is what plagues drivers around street circuits the most, is when they're on their own with no one to push against or not under pressure from everybody. Their mind starts to wander. They slowly start to lose their concentration and see themselves heading for a barrier. Agent picks up our next 3-second time penalty. That's 3 drivers now, 3-second time penalties. Jimbo, Tams, and also Agent. See Rory actually get past his teammate Dare down the main straights. It must have been a really tricky exit out of Antoninos there for Dare. Now makes his way up through the hill and into Massenet. So for Liam, that pace has somewhat started to come back into Panda's hands. He's not really been able to extend over the past lap and a half over his Mercedes teammate as much. That gap stayed about 1.9 seconds. Now, into Raskas. A little bit of time on this lap as Panda. We saw him have a scrappy Nouvelle chicane. Over the back of him is Jimbo. Has been able to make his way past Swaggy before we even get to Raskas. That must have been a spectacular run he got behind the V-Carb to be able to pull off that move and get up in top 10. As of course, circuit, we aren't expecting much on track overtakes, too much action unless somebody is severely quicker than somebody else in these conditions. It's all about survival at this moment in time. But for Panda, he really dropped off again over this lap, but Cook's not really been able to make any inroads. That dirty air going to be affecting that V-Carb quite heavily. Not only just due to, of course, the high downforce requirements of this circuit, it's also just down to the fact there's zero grip already in these wet conditions. And removing that aero factor, especially through corners like Massenet, Tabac and Saint-Devote, you're really costing yourself some big time and you're not able to close up to the car in front. You're having to be so careful and threading the eye of the needle. There's the yellow flag. That's for Joker. Another early mistake in a race for the McLaren. Has just seen himself drop down to 14th place from what was a 9th place as he currently stood and putting pressure on the A team. And for Joker, another race where he's qualified inside the top 10. Has unfortunately had a early put himself down the order. And unlike Imola, it's not so easy to overtake around here. Jimbo has really been able to pull away from Swaggy as well. So the V-Carb, excuse me, must be struggling quite a lot in these conditions. Actually, we see a swap back between the two Haas cars as Dare able to find his way back by Rory, and they might still scrap as they head down into Mirabeau. Panda is now 4.5 seconds behind Liam, so Liam's really put the burners on. There's contact between the two Haas drivers into Mirabeau, and it is Dare who holds on to the position. Joke will be looking at this and thinking, you guys can scrap, just please don't involve me in any unnecessary accident and I'll see myself by. It's a poor exit out of Portier though for Dare, but also a poor run for Rory, and this could mean Joker could slowly bring himself up to the back of the Haas driver in front. Not close enough for a lunge into the Nouvelle chicane. And now heading into the left-hander. That's actually Dare nearly going into the wall. As Haggy gets 10 seconds for corner cutting. He must have went straight on over the Nouvelle chicane there. Both the Haas cars seem to be struggling quite a lot, and you can see that there with the run. That's, of course, Rory just got there, and Joker sees himself through into that 13th place. Rory, a horrid exit, just was sliding all over the place out of Anthony Nose. And Joker said, thank you very much, I've got the momentum. I'll sweep round your outside down the straight. Haggy in the pit lane. Disastrous start to the race for both the Williams cars as Massive and Haggy, both down in 19th and 20th. Both had to come into the pit lane. See another spectacular exit there from Joker, and he gets past Dare with little to no difficulty. Does have some pace in that McLaren. It's just that unfortunate incident like we saw in Imola. That's meaning he'll do a lot more work than what he should have done in this race. Actually, is that Panda into pit lane? No, it's not. It's Cook got the run. Panda to the inside. And Cook is able to get by on the Mercedes man. And that's an extra car in between himself and Puzant. And for Panda, he's been struggling for quite a few laps now. It just seems those tyres haven't been able to fire up, or they're slowly getting worse for whereas he slides across the road. And he has seen himself, unfortunately, lose that place to Cook finally. It must have been an awful run, like we saw for the likes of Rory out of Anthony Nose. Able to move, unfortunately, had to drop a place to Cook. He's now going to try a hunt down Liam. 6.5 seconds clear. By the time these guys enter the tunnel, as they do now, Liam has just exited it. That's how far ahead he is. Really needs to put the foot down now, does Cook. Any chance of fighting for this race victory? Also, of course, have that scrap actually between Puzant, Ben, and Liam over what will be 4th place in this race. As actually Ben picks up a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting, and that's not going to do him any good in this battle. As Liam sets the fastest lap of the race. A nice thing to note though would be, can potentially Cook go faster now he's in that clean air. That is something we now need to look out for. Actually, looking, we saw it from, of course, Liam's point of view there, was looking for a lunge potentially onto Ben into Mirabeau. Nothing doing, and Ben's just parking his car absolutely perfectly at the moment. Oh, gonna get the run out of Portier Eva. Late on the brakes from Dan, just able to get the car slowed down. Really struggled in qualifying as well to meet that first apex at the Nouvelle Chicane, and struggling again here once again in the rain. The car into that first apex and loses quite valuable time, which could help him get a run onto the Aston Martin in front. And is this finally going to be his opportunity? As we now make our way through the Rascas, Liam sets an even quicker, fastest lap, and he's pulling away even more from Cook. And it's going to be now all about this exit for Puzant, but just hasn't got the drive compared to the Aston Martin in front. And Ben is able to live another day in that 4th place, but goes a little bit wide through Sandavot. But heading up the hill, where it's so tight and twisty, you're not going to find anything, as Haggy has retired from this race. Unfortunate there for Haggy, who's gone straight on at Mirabeau, it seems, and the car's directly in the wall. But no safety car has been brought out to attention, as Rory has decided to go onto the wet compounder tyres. Struggling with grip on the inters. Might as well try out the wet, see if they do become faster. But the way Liam's improving on the intermediates lap by lap, I don't think that gamble is going to work too much in his favour. But Haggy, like we saw in qualifying, now in the race, the first driver and only driver at the moment to DNF. And that's 2 incidents. Span of 9 laps. Now making his way, Anthony knows. Another fastest lap. Bet it. It is another fastest lap. A 1:24.4. I don't think anyone's coming close to that at all, because look, Cook is nearly 8 seconds behind now. Now we see Liam have a big slide out of Portier. You can see how much he's pushing, but on this lap, Cook has actually been faster. That going on 7.5 seconds. The gaps really are starting to form now, though, throughout this pack. The only real close battles are between the A-Team and Harvey. Of course, that scrap that's going on behind Ben with Puzant and Liam Bearder. looking into that first corner. I'm actually going to see a move from Liam onto the back of Puzant. Oh, it doesn't seem so. Was really close under braking. And on the exit as well, as we now head up the hill. Kick-Sauber driver surely not brave enough to go to the inside line, because that could certainly end in tears. No, he is not, but maybe down into Mirabeau. A move could potentially be on for the Kick-Sauber. The Alpine just gets the run at the top of the hill. Down into the corner. They want to hold on to that 5th place. Cook has really started to put that pressure now back onto Liam to start to up the pace, because that gap now, 6 seconds. But unfortunately, I say that, it went down to 6.9. It's now up by up to 7.3. As Liam is now stalled over the back of the Alpine of Puzant, who's sliding all over the road. Look at the rear end of the Alpine just going all the way across the road at swimming pool. Really starting to struggle with those rear tyres. Has he just pushed them too much? Trying to get past Ben. That now giving the Kick-Sauber the opportunity to start to fight back. Joker now picks up a 3-second time penalty. Puzant out the first corner, another big slide. Swaggy comes into pit lane. Brakes. Right-hander, of course. Yeah, you can slowly starting. Catch back up to Ben. It's going to be a race that ebbs and flows in pace management. Driver's getting quicker at one point and slowly dipping off the next. And then they're going to be picking it back up. And I think Puzant had that little bit of a wake-up call with Liam being all over the back of him into turn 1 not too long ago. And he certainly has now decided to put the pace up to a 9. But at the moment, it's looking like the Alpine to lose that race-winning streak here in the Principality. We actually bent into pit lane now. Get onto some fresh intermediate compounded tyres. How is this strategy going to work for the Aston Martin car? We're actually now also going to see Puzant in first time in this race. How he gets on at Aris Swaggy. Able to jump there, and Joker in the pit lane nearly goes into the wall. I think was just able to keep out of it there and keep his front wing intact. He was. But that was really hairy. That was fine margins between him keeping his front wing and losing it. But Ben, he's 5.3 seconds behind Jack, so it's some lovely clean air to push into as well. Liam now dips into the 123s as we see Cook into pit lane. Panda now goes quickest of all, so he's finding some good time in that Mercedes too. I think they're all starting to know it's crunch time. They'll have to come into pit lane ever so shortly. Now where does Cook come out? Puzant's coming to pit lane. This be good to see where he comes out in relation to Ben. Is he got the overcut, or is the undercut going to be effective for the Aston Martin? Puzant making his way down the main straight, heading up into Sandervoort, and I think he's actually jumped the Aston Martin. He has, so Puzant on that overcut has just come out in front, or has he? Now up the hill into Massenet. Is it going to be Ben? Is it going to be Puzant? It's going to be your championship leader who comes out on top, and Ben nearly into the wall, pushing the utmost limits. But wasn't able to see himself keep the position. Liam now into pit lane as well. Of course, he had a comfortable cushion over Cook behind. I think the main one we really need to look out for is Liam. We saw Puzant get the overcut onto Ben. Are we going to see Puzant get overcut by Liam as well as Panda goes even faster as he's staying out? He's finding so much time on these older tyres. And Liam's in clean air as well. Well, he was in clean air, but I think Liam is going to just be able to push on up and away. So look at that. It's 10 seconds between Panda and Liam. And still around about 7 seconds between Cook and Liam. So he's really been able to push on as the Mercedes driver. And he's in a wonderful position at the moment for this race victory. Yellow flag in the middle sector. Is that for Swaggy? But it's not. I think that might have actually been for Muse. No, it wasn't Muse either. Or was it Jimbo? It might have been Jimbo. Yes, it was Jimbo who made the mistake as Cook went by. I think he did what Joker did not too long ago. Had that spin. I think we're going to see him come into pit lane. Yes, we are. Liam will elect to stay out longer, potentially trying a one-stop strategy in this one. Same with Panda. As Jimbo must have had a 5-second time penalty somewhere because he's, sorry, 10-second time penalty because of course being held before they could do the stop. Scrappy picks up a 3-second time penalty. Let's have a look quick at your time penalties. It is 3 for Ben, 3 for Joker, 6 for Agent, 3 for Mute, 3 for Scrappy, 3 for Rory. And then 6 for Sames. And oh yes, Jimbo was the one that cut across the chicane. 10-second time penalty. See how delicate they have to be there with Liam. Onto the power out of the Nouvelle chicane. Just to be able to keep the car facing in the right direction. Big wobble as well. Heading into Fleming Pool chicane. And he's got a lot quicker this lap than his teammate Newt Panda, who finally decides to come into pit lane. I think Liam will also follow. No, Liam stays out even longer. Would love to know what Liam's tyre wear is at the moment, because he is really extending this stint. And if he could do 2 19-lap stints, he'll be able to make it all the way to the end. Find fellow Liam in the Mercedes. Here, of course, on Napoli tyres. He's not too much time, to be fair to the Mercedes, over the past few laps. So he's got a really strong pace at the moment in that kick Sauber. I think he is still going to get jumped by Puzant and also potentially Ben over the course of this next pit stop. Breaks through Raskas. He is going to. I think he is going to do 2 potentially 19 or 20 lap stints. Try and make the one stop work here. Here's the kick Sauber as he's got one of the Red Bulls coming out the pit lane. That's of Muse, who went into the pit lane, I think, to change his front wing. It did not change his front wing, unfortunately. So he will have to come back in again if he wants that repaired. Now everybody round about a few seconds away from one another, but over the course of that final sector and the start of this lap, Liam Bearder has dropped 2 seconds. Fellow namesake in front. So making our way to back. Got 4 seconds between and Liam. Up to about 9 seconds between Cook and the Mercedes. Are we going to see Bearder into pit lane? Yes, we are. Starting to lose too much time on those intermediates. Electon's coming now. Let's see where he comes out. Is it ahead of Ben or is it behind Ben? Or even is it still ahead of Harvey? Pit lane. Fresh set of inters go on. That's made his way down the main straight. I think Ben will come out just in front. Gets on the power. Does the kick. Sauber will have the inside line, but I just don't think it'll be enough. It's going to be a repeat of Puzant and Ben, which was not too many laps ago. And it is Ben who comes out on top. He had those fresher tyres, those older, warmer tyres. Able to put his foot down, whereas, of course, Liam has to warm those intermediates back up. As Joker sets the fastest lap, a 1 minute 23.1. Spectacular there from the McLaren driver to pull that one off. Now heading through the new Bell chicane here for Liam. He'll of course want to try and catch up to Puzant, who was fighting with at the beginning of this Grand Prix. You got to look for it to Raskas. No, he is not, but he's got a lot more pace than the Aston Martin driver up in front. He's pushing him through some of these corners. And of course, for Puzant, he's going to be dropping a few places in this a few points in this championship fight, as Liam is just able to save the car out of Sandoval. But for Cook, going to at least be finding a few 6 places, as Liam's actually left the session. He's disconnected, and that's disaster for the Kick Sauber, who is on for a top 5 finish at this rate, maybe even a top 4 if things went his way. But unfortunately, they have not, and he's disconnected from the session, hopefully back in ASAP so he can continue on. But yeah, healthy. Of course, 6 points being found for Cook against Puzant. Needs to do that for the rest of the season. Scrappy now into pit lane. Did 18 laps, well 19 laps on those tyres before electing to come in for a fresh set. Goes out again, it's massive. Of course, he boxed earlier on. He'll be coming out, coming in for his final stop in this race. Closest battle we have on the circuit is 18 catching up to Harvey. Started to struggle over the course of the last lap or so, as these guys will get past Liam. Ghost car, he is an AI. Up to of a fight. A lot quicker. Sauber. In front of them is Massive, who's out of pit lane. That gap between Liam and Cook is 9.1 seconds now, so he's really put his foot down as the Mercedes man. Now he's got that clean air. And no one behind him to bother him. Look at that. Look at the amount of circuit he has in front of him. Rory picks up a 3-second time penalty. And now onto the brakes we go. The left-hander. Bell chicane. And in back, we're still watching the 18. That pressure onto Harvey in front. A big slide from the McLaren. Still no room at the end for the Aston Martins. We actually see Adrian be able to get past Thames. There's some contact between the Alpine and the Kick Sauber. And it is... Who's going to come out on top of this? More contact between the pair. Heading into Massenet. And it's Thames who comes out on top on the inside. But that was a really scrappy affair between the two. As has the 18 got the run up the hill? No, not this time around either. Olem. 18 try break into that top 6 and make it an Aston Martin P5 and P6. Currently sits in 7th place. Starting to drop off the back of the McLaren now. And this is where the mental fatigue will slowly start to kick in as we near the end of this race. Where you've been constantly concentrating and focused. Corner by corner, they come at you so thick and fast, you don't really have much time to breathe, as we actually see Thames retire. That up the hill, oh, I think that might be a retirement on the circuit, and not... no, it's actually in the pit lane, sorry, he's retired for Thames there. For some reason, it was saying he retired up into Massenet, but yeah, unfortunate retirement there for Thames. And he's our second retirement of this race. But as I was saying, this is where the mental fatigue kicks in, where the corners come at you so thick and fast, and it's so constant, and you have so many laps around this circuit. Spaggy picks up another 3-second time penalty. Yeah, you slowly start to lose focus, your mind starts to wander, you get that fatigue where your brain starts to get tired, and your body also starts to get tired as well. So many repetitive movements. You have to dig deep moments. As talking about digging deep. I was going to say Panda's potentially on for an attack against Kirk, but he's picked up a 3-second time penalty. So as long as the V-Carb can hold on until the final couple of laps to that second place, got it in the bag. Heading low hairpin. Panda now starting to apply that pressure. I think Liam might actually have returned. Liam has returned, and he's now starting to push on to the back of the A-team. We could see a battle brewing here. Potentially have this top 5 on the cards for the Kick Sauber, as the Aston Martin of Ben has dropped about 2 seconds in the previous couple of laps. Harvey behind. About this exit now out of port. Yay, a big snap here for Ida. About a slam on his brakes. Bell chicane. Of course, the 18 being held up ever so slightly by Harvey as Newt Panda's into the pit lane again. Of course, these drivers will have to come in again, at least the ones that stopped a little bit earlier. And Panda's gone for that undercut. Knows he's got the gap in the train, I think. As the 18 now picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's going to be detrimental to him. And yes, Newt Panda does have the gap because he's going to come out well in front of Ben. And now he's mission to hunt down Cook. and even just try to get this undercut on Cook. Push on till the end of this race and try and break that 3 seconds. The V-Carb that was in front of him. The 18 potentially looking for a move. He was looking for a move and nearly saw himself out of this race, as we also have the back marker of Muse in all of this as well. Bearder looking for a move into Mirabeau. Through Portier we go. A big snap from the Aston Martin. This might actually allow the Kick-Sauber to poke a nose to the inside into the Nouvelle chicane. Is Bearder going to go for it? Oh, he potentially looked for it. Made the Aston Martin go a little bit deeper on the brakes. The A-team is able to hold firm for now. As are we going to see Cook into pit lane? No, we are not. He stays out a little bit longer. Panda has to do is navigate some lap traffic. It's not the end of the world, but a little distraction. Race. Too much harm. We actually see Harvey into pit lane, so that's unleashed the A-team and also Liam Bearder, who's going to go for the move into turn 1. He's late on the brakes. There's contact between him and the A-team. The A-team under braking came across the Kick-Sauber. And unfortunately for the Aston Martin, he's got nobody to blame but himself for that one. It was Liam braking late, the A-team braking later, maybe locked the rears. And the tyre hook unfortunately sees the Aston Martin and the Kick-Sauber into the wall. And do they both have damage? I know the Aston does. But Liam Bearder, there could be an end plate missing there. And there is. Left front end plate missing there for Liam. Oh, that's really unfortunate for the Kick-Sauber, who's driven a spectacular race. He went for the move. Fortunately, it did not work out, as we've just seen Harvey go to the inside of Swaggy, and now Swaggy's into the wall. That's Kimi Raikkonen and Kevin Magnussen-esque into the Lowe's hairpin all the way back in 2014. Where they both end up getting stuck, as we now see Cook into pit lane. Where does he come out compared to Panda, who's heading down that main straight? And I think the Mercedes might have just jumped him as we head through turn 1. No, Cook's just going to stay ahead unless he can get the run here, the Mercedes. No, he cannot. And Cook is still just about leading the way from New Panda. And Liam has such a healthy margin to pit into. He don't have to worry about pitting for the next couple of laps. Liam does now come into pit lane. Yellow flag in the second sector. That looks like it's for Ferrari. Is that of Scrappy? No, is that of Reynolds? It does look like it's Reynolds. He's missing an end plate. He's also driving a really nice race at the moment. And that's unfortunately come unravelled for him ever so slightly. That front wing damage he's picked up now in the middle part of the lap. New Panda, of course, wants to get past Kirk as quick as he can, but doesn't seem like he at the moment. Liam keeps his race lead. I think he's actually on for a grand slam here, Liam. As we have the A-team and Joker now into pit lane. And actually, Harvey's been able to jump the A-team out of the pit lane, who's potentially had some contact with the McLaren. He's lost his front wing entirely. The A-team has completely lost his front wing. He's nearly into the wall. And that is not going to do him any good at all. He's going to have to come in and make another pit stop, and this time it's an unroutine pit stop. That will see him potentially fall out of the points and out of any contention for the points. Let's have a look at your penalties once more, because a lot of drivers now have them. Ben's got 13 seconds worth of penalty. Got 3 for the A team, 3 for Swaggy, Joker, Jimbo. Also massive and Muse as Cook set the fastest lap, and that's helping him against Panda. We're going to see 10 seconds there for A team. We have 9 for Agent, and then 2 6-second time penalties. 3 6-second time penalties going the way of Scrappy, Rory, and Dare. But actually, all in a scrap at the moment down at turn 1. And it is going to be Scrappy who wins out on that one. Makes his way into 14th place. Yeah, now looking to the outside. Through Masna, some contact made. That might invite Rory now to the inside of his teammates. Heading into the Mirabeau corner. And no, just having to sit behind is, of course, Rory. But he's actually into the back of his teammate under braking. Luckily, no damage for either. Now through the tunnel we go. There's been able to drop his teammate ever so slightly through that technical part of the circuit. As I'm feeling here, Puzan is trying to stay out in this one all the way to the very end. Try to hold on to that second place. Yes, his streak may be over, but if he can still outscore Cook here, that will benefit his chances a lot, as we've actually just missed Dare getting past Scrappy, who potentially made a mistake in the swimming pool, because he's actually missing both front wing end plates on that Ferrari and comes into pit lane. A flag somewhere out on the road. I think that might have been for one of the McLarens, potentially Joker, who went for a little spin. And is now missing some front wing end plates. So yes, it must have been Joker. Had that accident. Panda's still very close to the back of Kirk, but I think he's just going to fall a little bit short. But I think this main battle we need to be looking for here is Cook versus Puzan. Because if the Alpine can hang on to this second place, this championship could be all said and done. Yes, it will only be a 3-point swing back into Cook's hands, but that's some momentum he could possibly build off for the rest of this season. But if Puzan's able to hold on, that will certainly give him the confidence to just keep growing and growing that championship lead all the way to the very end. But he is struggling, and he is struggling heavily to keep that car up to pace, up to standard of what the V-Carb is doing. But luckily for Puzan, we are in the streets of Monaco. And you could be 80 horsepower down and still find a way to hang on. Joker comes into pit lane to repair that front wing damage. Awful race, unfortunately, for the McLaren. The brakes now from Kirk as he's trying to hunt down Puzan. Of course, he needs to be careful. He doesn't go for a risky move because it might allow Panda to see himself through. Rory picks up another 3-second time penalty. Got lap 32 of 39. 8 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Hanging on quite nicely for the opening part. Was he just saving ever so slightly to now back up Cook? into the path of Panda. Again, just close enough. Out of the Nouvelle chicane. The back, he's going to be all over the back of the Alpine, you would think, by the time we get to Raskas. Around about the same gap as he was the lap prior. Cook really hasn't got the overspeed that he needs to find his way through. There from Kirk, he's struggling in the dirty air behind Bazanti's championship rival. As I mentioned, a critical moment in this championship picture. Yes, Liam may be getting the victory, but I think he's already not out of championship contention, but he's so far back it will be very much an impossible mission. He'll need the Alpine to really mess up the rest of this season. Whereas for Cook, he can make those small incremental damages. He can slowly take away and chip away at Pazan's championship lead. But he needs to get by now if he wants any chance of doing that. If he doesn't, I think this could be championship hopes dashed. And we're only in round 4 of the season. Yes, it is that dramatic. Yes, it is that serious because of how big of a gap Pazan has got over the rest of the field behind. It's 32 points. It'll be heading up to 35 by the end of this one. And even if he DNFs a race, he'll have quite a healthy advantage of being at least 10 points clear. Of course, would love to know what Pazan's tyres are on at the moment. Train of cars now threads its way through the Lowe's hairpin. You can see Panda just trying to squeeze himself into a gap at the Lowe's hairpin. Wide from all three of them as they drift their way out of Portier. And Panda still looking to try chuck a nose in somewhere. Bazan driving absolutely perfectly at the moment, doing everything he needs to at this stage of the Grand Prix to hang on to this second place and take valuable championship points in his stride. Through Portier again, out onto the tunnel. You can just see Pazan gets such a good run out of there, even on his 21 lap old tyres compared to 8 lap old Inters of Cook. He put the foot down so nicely. He really could focus his way through on that exit, and that's the important one. There and Anthony knows are the two most important exits on this circuit for Pazan to master, because that's where the main opportunities lie, is heading down into turn 1 and into, of course, the Nouvelle chicane. Then we cross the line. It's 4 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Liam's already up into Massenet. And into Mirabeau by the time these guys hit the brakes for Sandovot. I'm in there for Puzan. Actually, New Panda's started to drop back a bit from Cook, potentially just saving some tyres and some battery. Then have one last push if he's not able to find a way through on Puzan. Not really being able to close the back of the Alpine is the V-Carb, and the Mercedes driver all you want to get by because he's got a 3-second time penalty in his hands. And if I was Puzan, I'll be trying for Cook to allow Panda through and then try to hang on to the back of Panda. Or hang on into that 3-second range. Big moment there for Panda into the second part of the swimming pool. We might actually see a move be made here from Cook onto Puzan at some point into this one. But no, Puzan comes into pit lane. Of course, mandatory to stop. He's not made that second stop. I think it's still mandatory in the wet weather conditions. But Puzan is not risking it. He's coming into the pit lane. And we might actually see him drop behind Liam Bearder. Yellow flag somewhere on the road. I think that was down at Mirabeau. And Puzan has come out behind Liam Bearder. So this is now valuable points going back into the favour of Cook at this stage. Of course, Liam Bearder is going for that one-stop strategy. So he is our test dummy at the moment. If he doesn't get disqualified, Puzan has potentially just cost himself some huge championship points. And that could be really detrimental. His championship hopes. Yes, I mentioned he's 32 points clear heading into this one. But this will mean Cook finds 8 points onto that. And will leave, of course, with a 24-point buffer instead. So a DNF and a race victory for Cook. A DNF for Puzan, a race victory for the V-Carb. Could see him take the championship lead by 1 point. That's how crucial those 3 points were. Two laps to go now in this Monaco Grand Prix. And I think that is certainly going to be nearly it for the on-track action. But at the front of the field, one man certainly has stood above the rest. He has dominated this race so far. And only has one more tour left of the circuit. He's got one last lap of the Principality. Show off what he has got and what he's had to offer. We're going to see Jack Reynolds quickly, though. Battled against Harvey. Before we switch back over to Liam. We're going to win this race if everything goes smoothly on this final lap. Harvey just able to hold on against Jack. I think will for the rest of this race. So let's head back over to the man leading this race. He's actually lapped up to 10th place in this Grand Prix and could actually potentially lap, of course, Liam. Liam does get disqualified for not doing the two-stop strategy, and that's Puzan up into 4th place, and that's bumped everybody up an extra place, and Swaggy's now into the points. But at the front of the field, he's namesake Liam in the Mercedes has absolutely dominated this race. He took pole position by 0.06 of a second. He was barely in front in qualifying, but in the race, he has been a league above the rest. Here in the iconic streets, he's going to win one part of the Triple Crown, and he's going to absolutely dominate this one. The Italian ghosts didn't haunt him for long. He makes amends for Imola and picks the fastest lap of the race up with it. It's a grand slam for Liam as he takes the race victory here in Monaco. And the Mercedes man who threw it all away last week in Imola due to a pit stop that he shouldn't have made. Here this week, he has certainly made amends for that. He has fixed his wrongdoings. And he has instantly responded, showing what he can do at one of the hardest circuits of all. It's then Cook in second, Panda fourth, and with that disqualification for Liam Bearder. And it's fourth place for Zan, which loses him championship points. But not as many as we once thought before Liam's disqualification. And it's a good thing Pazant did not stay out to the end, because that could have been absolutely costly for his championship. As we're waiting on Harvey and Jack Reynolds to finish their battle. And it is Harvey who comes out on top. But that was your race here in Monaco. Liam gets his delight at last. And he breaks the streak of Pazant as well. He threatened it last week. And this week, he goes through on the threat and does take that first place. The top five actually finished in the order that they started, which is something you usually see around Monaco, but in league racing, it's something not so common. But that is quite a cool stat we have here as well. But it is Liam who takes the race victory, our second different winner of the season in the first 4 rounds. And it's Cook, Panda, Pazant, Ben, Jimbo, Harvey, Jack, the A-Team, Swaggy, Joker, Dare, Rory, Massive, Scrappy, Agent, Mute, Tames, Aggie, and Liam. Of course, the bottom 3 qualified or DNF'd. And unfortunately for Liam, it was a 2-stop mandatory race, and he did not make the 2 pit stops. Cost him oh so dearly. But, ladies and gentlemen, that was your race here in Monaco. Let's have a look at the calendar to see where we'll be heading to next week. Where we make our trip over to Suzuka for a sprint race at Japan. Make our way to Spa-Francorchamps on the week after for round 6. Spielberg round 7. Singapore round 8. Silverstone round 9. And then final race of the season, round 10. Las Vegas on the 8th of March. So be a sprint race like we shall see at Suzuka in the week. Will be Alex Bagnall. We've done comms so far this, but he is an absolute delight to have in the commentary box. So make sure you tune in next week at 8 PM British Standard Time, or of course 9 PM European Central Time, for a sprint race at Suzuka. But that is going to be all from us here at the OWLS Racing, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you, of course, to the drivers and everybody at the OWLS Racing. Also to Driveline Media as well for making this possible. I have been Max Ring. I have been your commentator for this evening. a little bit later on in the season. But make sure you do return next week to see the rest of this championship unravel as we see Pazant versus Cook rage on. The gap is now down. Of course, we're going to have 26 points in it now. So if Pazant DNFs next week and Cook does win the race, 1 point will separate the pair in Pazant's favour heading in to Bar. Of course, make sure you tune into that one. It will be a sprint race as well, so it should be extremely eventful. 2 races for the price of 1. We'll see. Thank you all very much for watching. It's been a pleasure here tonight. What a drive that was from Liam. Can he repeat the feat? We see our 3rd different winner of the season. Dan off the ball. Make sure you tune in next week to find out. Thank you very much for watching.